Hi everyone, welcome to the very first episode of Love, Faith, and Hope, Cafecito with Rose. Tastes so good. So, again, this is the very first episode. Today is Friday, August 28th, 2020. But the most important thing is that today is my birthday. Today I turned 36 years old. And so there's a lot of mixed emotions about it, about me turning 36. I'm excited, I'm grateful for another year of life. And I pray this year is nothing but blessings, for myself, my family. The reason why I say it's a little mixed emotions is just because I'm like a year older and I'm 4 years away from turning 40. So I'm just kind of like, but I'm happy. I'm excited. I cannot complain. This year, I think, has been a trying year, I think, for everyone. And because with the pandemic going on and whatnot. But, I know that a lot of people have passed. Me and my family in particular, we lost an uncle. We lost a cousin due to COVID, and have some very close friends of mine that lost, a loved one, either a parent or a sibling, and my heart and prayer goes out to you guys. My deepest condolences, and to anyone who has lost somebody due to this pandemic, again, my heart and my deepest condolences to you and your family. So as I mentioned, this is the very first episode, and the title of it is Love, Faith, and Hope. And I want this channel in particular to be of inspiration, of encouragement. There's going to be a lot of different topics that we will be covering throughout, this channel. We're going to be talking about marriage, about relationships within, dating, and relationships with, family members, and just like I have many plans, for this channel, and I hope and I pray that it blesses you, that you take something from it. I know that life in general can become overwhelming and can be hard at times, and sometimes we just need that encouragement. Sometimes we just need to hear somebody that has gone through possibly the same thing that we've gone through or currently going through, and just gain wisdom, and knowledge from that. And I know that every person is different, every mountain is different, but if you can grab a little bit of here and a little bit of there and apply it to yourself and to your own life, to your own relationships, and have success in that, then it's all good, right? So let me get another drink. So with this episode, I want to start off just this episode to be a little bit of who I am as a person, a little bit of my background, and just so you could get a little feel of kind of like content of what's going to be part of this channel. Number one thing is my name is Rose. I think you guys know that already. And I love coffee, hence Cafecito with Rose. I love to talk to people. I love to learn of different backgrounds and cultures, and I love to hear someone's story of where they've been and what got them to where they're at now. And I just love to hear people's journeys. I'm a talker, and I just love people in general. I really, really do. And so a little bit of my background is I grew up in a Christian home. My dad was a minister. He was an evangelist, a pastor, and that's what I grew up with. My oldest sister Rachel, Hi, Rachel. Her and her husband are pastors of a church called Refined by Fire Ministries here in San Antonio, Texas, and that's where I attend. Me, my family, my siblings, my mom. Um, so I grew up with that. By the time I was born, my dad was already a born again Christian, and he had been for possibly, I think, approximately like about 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, by the time I was born. And when I was born, he was already very involved in the ministry. He was already preaching and evangelizing, and I believe he was pastoring as well. I'm the youngest of five. I was a surprise. There was a lot that happened, within my mom's pregnancy with me. Apparently, she wasn't supposed to carry me full term, and was given the option to abort me, and just because there was supposed to be a lot of complications and all of that. But I'm here, I'm alive and I'm here, and I have 3 sisters, 1 brother. I'm the youngest. And then as I got older, although I grew up in the church and knew a lot about the word and witnessed a lot of things, like witnessed a lot of miracles and witnessed a lot of things, I guess you could say, like, I didn't know Jesus for myself. Like, I went with the motions, with the church, but I didn't have that personal one-on-one relationship with God. I knew who God was. I knew what he could do. I knew the power of prayer. I knew who to run to in times of trouble, but I didn't have that relationship that you could say that I would put my all into, or put my 100% trust in. So I did struggle a lot growing up. I had a lot of like low self-esteem, and I battled with that, alone. And then when I went through some trauma in my late teens, and I would say my early 20s was when things began to get worse. Just adding all of that, and like the trauma and low self-esteem, it did a number on my mental health, that I started going through depression and channeling that into harmful things. I started drinking, I started partying, I sought attention from men, all of those things, everything that comes with that lifestyle, and so it caused a lot of more damage, to my mental health, to my heart, to my spirit life. It caused a lot of damage, and a lot, happened within those years, but I won't go into detail to everything. When I was 23, well, actually 22, 23, because I spent my 23rd birthday in the hospital, I contracted bacterial meningitis and almost died. I basically was on life support, was only given 2 hours left to live, and it was really bad. I almost died, but here I made it. It's a long story. Maybe one day I would do an episode specifically telling my story of when I got bacterial meningitis. If that's something that you would be interested in hearing about, comment below and let me know. So that happened when I was, well, like I said, 23, and I spent my 23rd birthday in the hospital. And then even after that, like, I knew that the only reason why I was still alive was because God's hand was on me at that time. Had continued to be on me, like his, his mercy and his love and his grace. And I knew that it was only because of the power of prayer. And I knew that I had a purpose, in this life. I knew it. I had always known that since I was a little girl, that God did have a plan, a purpose for me. But I still struggled. Even after that, even after surviving meningitis, I still struggled. I struggled so much. And it was because I would, every time, I'm sure a lot of people experience this, especially if you grew up in the church or have been in God, have served God for a while, and then, you kind of waver a little bit. I'm sure a lot of people, I'm not the only person, I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this, but every time I would start, serving God and giving my all and all of that, but then the moment that something would happen or something would not go your way, or maybe you were triggered by something from your past or whatever, it would just crumble. And I know it's because you probably you still hadn't fully given everything, surrendered everything to God, and you just didn't know how to navigate through that, or how to quickly, see those signs coming, like those flags waving, and for you to be able to overcome those things. And so, but that's what I would experience. Different memories would come up, or triggers or whatever, and it would just crumble. Like I would just slowly and surely just start falling back into the same patterns of my past. And so that's what I would be going through. And then it was hard too, because again, if you grew up in church and stuff like that, sometimes it could be a little intimidating, I guess you could say, to approach somebody, or you could maybe be ashamed to approach somebody and tell them like, hey, I'm struggling in this area, or pray for me because I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. And maybe you're a little ashamed of it, because you don't want people to know your business, and where you don't want people to judge you or stuff like that. So then you hold it in and you don't tell nobody, and then that just begins to pile up, and then before you know it, you explode into like a rabbit hole of digging yourself into a hole, and then that you're back into your same old patterns. Because I know I did that. I would do that big time. I will be the first to admit that I would do that 100%. I would be ashamed or afraid, and so I would just keep it within myself, and it would just eat me up inside. And then before I knew it, I was drinking again, partying again, and seeking attention from men, or doing other things again, So I went back, and I was like that, I struggled with that like big time. And then I would say my biggest turning point was my last relationship that I was in. I was 28, and I won't say everything that happened in that relationship. I'm not. But I will say that it was very toxic, and a very toxic relationship. A lot happened. It was a relationship that I was in on and off for a year. And I say on and off because there were times where I wanted to leave. I tried to leave. There was even moments where I actually did leave for a period of time. But I was so weak emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, that I would go back. He knew what words to say and how to reel me back in, and I would go back. I was not physically abused. Like I never got like punched in the face or anything like that. But there was emotional abuse, there was verbal abuse, there was mental abuse. And I would say physical abuse was, the signs were beginning to show that it was now leading into physical. There was like a push or grab and shake, type of thing. But I will tell you this part of how I left. It was September 15th, 2013. And it was my best friend's birthday. I'll never forget. It was a Sunday. And we were, me and my ex, we were living together. And I remember I woke up that morning and I looked around and I looked over at him and I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is not the life that I wanted for myself. This is not what I envisioned my future to be like. This is not what I envisioned my life to be like. When I was a little girl, I did not envision my life to turn out in this way. And so I told myself, I'm done. I'm out. And so I got up, started packing my stuff. I told him I was gonna leave. He did try to stop me, but nothing he could say or do anymore was going to work for me. I had made up my mind that I was done. So I, like I said, packed my stuff and I left. And I never, ever turned back. Never. But I will say that after that, I went through a very, very dark period. Because of that relationship, I was so beaten down verbally, mentally, and emotionally that to a point where I honestly thought that I was like the ugliest woman in this world. And I had to find out who I was again. And I was just so depressed. And I wasn't depressed because I wanted him or I missed him or anything like that, because I had left him. What I had gotten so depressed about and beating myself up for was, how did I allow myself to be in that type of relationship? How did I allow myself to be in a relationship with a man that treated me that way? Prior to this relationship, I had always prided myself in how much respect I demanded from men or from people in general. Both my parents taught us, and my dad, raised 4 women. My dad taught us, to speak our minds and to demand respect and to never allow anybody or anyone, to call us out of our name, to disrespect us, to cuss us out, to treat us like trash. And so I had always had that. And so whenever a guy would cuss me out, I would leave. If a guy cheated on me, I would leave. I would not put up with any type of disrespect. Now, mind you, before this relationship, the last relationship I was in before that one, I had been engaged and was planning my wedding. And there was a time where he disrespected me in such a way that I was like, I'm out. If you did that to me now that we're not even married yet, I can just imagine when we are married. And 2 months before the wedding, I called it off. So that's how serious I was when it came to respect. So that's fast forward. I was beating up myself. I was beating myself up so badly of the fact that I had allowed myself to be treated in that manner. And so had I had that. Number two, I had hurt so many people. I had hurt my family. I had hurt my church family. Prior to this relationship, I was very involved in my church, and the fact that I literally like turned my back on God, I turned my back on the church, I turned my back on my family for this person. And so I was just so, I was so depressed. I wanted to die. I seriously wanted to just die. I no longer wanted to live. I didn't feel I was worthy enough to continue living. I didn't feel I was worthy enough for forgiveness. I felt like I had just ruined my life completely. And I'll never forget, because I left him on Sunday, September 15th, that following Sunday. So that whole week, I was just such in a depression, constantly crying. I remember literally begging God, like crying uncontrollably, begging God to just let me die, or to please like turn back time. I remember pleading with God to just, God, let me wake up and let it be, a year ago or 2 years ago, like let me redo these last couple of years of my life, like let me redo it. And I remember crying and pleading with him, and of course, time didn't go back, and but I remember I was just so depressed. And so that Sunday, it was in the afternoon, and I was living with my parents. I had moved back in with them because I had left the relationship. And I went into the living room. My mom was in there. And I sat down on the recliner. And I was just crying and crying and crying and crying. And I remember my mom was like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong? ¿Qué tienes? Tell me what's going on. What's wrong? And I was just crying and crying and crying. And I remember my dad just came in and he just held me. He just held me and he prayed for me. And I will never forget that moment, It's something that constantly stays with me. Especially, my dad passed away 4 years ago. And so those moments like that stay with me. I will never forget them. And sorry. And so he just held me and he prayed for me. And then, church, they were having Sunday night services. It was in the evening, so my parents left and I didn't want to go. And I remember I just wanted to die. So I got in my car and I started driving. And I told myself, I'm just gonna drive into traffic. I'm just gonna drive off a bridge. I don't know, I'm just gonna do something because I no longer want to live. Like, I just wanted to die. I wanted to kill myself. I was driving and I was crying uncontrollably. I don't even know how fast I was going down the freeway, but I just remember I'm driving on the freeway, crying my eyes out to a point where I could hardly see because tears were just running down, but I didn't do it. And obviously, and so I went to a movie. I don't know why. I just went to a movie. I don't remember what movie I went to go see. I honestly do not remember. Because I just told myself I just need to get my mind off. I just need to think about something else. I need to, just do something just to get out of this mode that I was in. I don't remember what movie it was, but I remember sitting in the theater and just like, I can't even concentrate. Like, I can't even pay attention to what's going on. So I left the theater and I went home. And the next day, which was a Monday, I was at work. I was still working, even though I was depressed, I was still working. Just a second. And I was at work. I was working for a contracting company. So I was by myself in the office because my boss was out at the site. And I remember sitting there at my desk. I'm sitting there. I'm working. And all of a sudden, I kid you not, like I promise you, out of nowhere, I just spoke out loud. I just said it out loud. What's done is done. I can't change the past, but I can allow God to change my future. The moment I said those words, oh my goodness, the moment I said those words, that cloud, that dark cloud that was just over me, the depression, all of that just left. It left. And all of a sudden, I just felt peace. And I felt hope. And I felt like there was purpose. Like I knew that there was more that I needed to do with my life. And that I had a reason to live. I'll never forget that. And then that Sunday, I went back to church. And I will tell you, I was very, very nervous because I hadn't seen anybody, since I had left. And I didn't know how I was going to be received. I was ashamed. I was so ashamed, because, I had left the church and I didn't know how I was going to be received. But I will tell you that the moment I walked in, I was received with open arms. And I will tell you that they are my family. They really are my family. And I will never forget that moment. And so after that, there was a journey a journey of just finding out who I am, and most importantly, who I am in God, and how God sees me, who I am to Him, what I mean to Him. And I will tell you, for the rest of 2013, and I would tell you, man, 2014 was a mind-blowing year. Within that year and a half or so, I saw God's hand in my life. He restored everything. He restored my mind. He restored my heart. He restored my spiritual life. He restored my relationship with my family. He restored my relationships, within the church. He restored every area of my life. 2014, I turned 30 and I went back to school. I had not been in school for about 5 years, because straight after high school I went to college, but then I was working at the same time while I was going to school, and so I would only take like one class, two classes, and so it was taking me forever to finish. And then I stopped going, and because I wanted to focus on working. And so I took I was like, oh, I'm only gonna take 1 year off. That 1 year turned into 5 years. And but when I turned 30, actually a few months prior, I decided to go back to school. And I went back. I went to UTSA. I changed my major to sociology, and it took me 3 years, and I finished in 3 years. I got my bachelor's degree in sociology in 2017. In 2015, the best year, I got married. Me and my husband, I will say that he is the love of my life. He really, truly is. He's an amazing man. He loves me, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't doubt his love for me. Not a day. I'm sorry. I'm a very emotional person, but he loves me very, very much, and I don't doubt that, and I love him very much. And we have our own love story. We've known each other, actually on September 1st would be 20 years that we've known each other. So we have our own story. Maybe one day I'll share that with you. If you would like to see an episode on that, leave a comment below. But you know, like I mentioned, you know, my husband is amazing. We have 3 boys. Well, I'm a stepmom. We don't have any children together, but those boys are my boys. You know, they are. I love them to death. And so maybe one day we'll have a baby. We'll see. We'll see what's in store for us. And I am on the road to getting my master's degree. That's the goal. That's the goal of mine. To go back to school and get my master's degree and become a licensed professional counselor. Let's see. So that's my kind of a little bit of my life story up until this point. But a little bit more of kind of things I like. As I mentioned, I love coffee. I love to talk. I love to meet new people. I love to hear their stories. I'm a big family person. I'm very family oriented. I have many nieces and nephews, and which I hope, you know, in the future you'll see some of them, you know, stop by and have chit chats, you know, have some coffee, and, you know, have some chit chats with some of my sisters and, you know, my nieces and nephews, and have, you know, discuss different topics and stuff. So with all that being said, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you be notified when another video is uploaded. I hope you enjoyed this first episode, and I will see you soon. Love you guys, and don't forget, what's done is done. You cannot change your past, but you can always allow God to change your future. Bye. God bless. Love y'all.